Hey, District Church, family, friends, and guests, welcome. My name is Richard Farinas, and I've been attending TDC for about 5 years now. On most Sundays, you'll catch me serving either on the prayer team or the discipleship team. Today, I'm excited to share with you a little bit about how I practice daily worship and also to share more about a specific type of prayer that I believe has the power to transform your spiritual life just as it's transformed my own. For me, daily worship is the way of living out the Christian spiritual life, which I believe is based on two key practices. The first being to learn to seek God at all times and in all things, always searching for Him. The second being, as Paul would tell us, is to pray without ceasing, that your life becomes one continuous act of worship and prayer. For me, overall, daily worship is just like any healthy relationship. It's not formulaic, it's not controlling, it's not legalistic, it's not self centered. But it is, and it has to be intentional. And that's where the practice of the daily examen comes into play for me. The daily examen prayer is a specific prayer technique that's focused on showing us how to discern both God's active presence in our lives and also His voice, His will for us. Oftentimes, I think we struggle in trying to figure these things out, and the examen offers a structured prayer technique for helping us get better and gain that skill of being able to discern spiritual movements and patterns and growth over time and how God is actually moving in our own lives. It was a prayer taught by St. Ignatius of Loyola in the 16th century, founder of the Society of Jesus, also known as the Jesuits. The idea is that through prayerful reflection, we can develop spiritual insight and direction for our lives on a daily basis by looking at what we're doing every day and taking the time to reflect on that. So why do I love practicing the daily examen and why do I recommend it? Well, number one, it builds trust in God. Oftentimes, I think we go through what some have called spiritual stupidity, where we'll go to prayer in those moments of crises and doubt and say, God, where are you? What have you been doing in my life? How are you going to get me out of this situation or provide this specific need? And yet, He's done it so many times before in the past for us that we just forget and we don't take the time to reflect, to give Him thanks, and to really ask the Spirit to help us see how He was moving in our lives before. That's where the confidence, that's where the trust comes from over time. That's how our faith gets stronger. And the examen provides a technique that gives us not just the trust, but the awareness to see what's happening in our lives. How are we growing in God? How are we obeying? How are we disobeying? It also teaches us to look and see where God is inviting us to join Him in our day. The examen teaches us that everything matters, that you don't have to be on your knees or in church on a Sunday in order for your spirituality to count. It's actually the opposite. Everything you do, everyone you're engaging with, every moment of your life, in a sense, can be holy if you're seeking God, if you're looking to engage Him in everything that you're doing. So how do you practice the daily examen prayer? The great thing about this prayer is that it has just enough structure to help you get started and to help you stay focused, but not so much as to stifle the creativity, spontaneity, and the flow of the Holy Spirit. Generally, the prayer is centered around 5 different prompts. These are gratitude, petition, review, forgiveness, and renewal. You can find much more information about the prayer and on each of these individual prompts with the blog post associated with this video. One important note that I would like to leave you with is that, again, the examen's a tool, it's not a formula. We're not in control. So when you enter the prayer, you should be open to focusing sometimes just on one of the prompts. Maybe it is the first one on gratitude. You stop at thankfulness and that's your prayer. And at other times you may go through all 5, or maybe more focused on forgiveness or renewal, looking ahead to tomorrow and praying that God gives you the strength, the courage, and the gifts to overcome the challenges in your life. But you shouldn't be forced. Again, we're not in control, and we're inviting the Holy Spirit to come to lead us and to join us in the review of our day. And so with that, I'll recommend that you check out the blog post associated with this video. It has a lot of great information about the Examen prayer, as well as some helpful resources from the Jesuits that are the experts on this prayer, practice it daily, and teach it very well. And I also highly recommend that you take the time to check out the other videos in TDC's Discipleship Friday series. Thank you, church, and God bless.